the premiere episode of Season 4 of A Dacetacular Mind. And now, with A Dacetacular Mind, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. For 3 seasons, I opened this mind and just spewed out everything I had to say about what I was thinking, what I've done, and what I will do. We may return to that format at some point, but I wanted to do Season 4 a little differently. And in Season 4, I want to sit down and talk to those people who are in my life, who have been in my life, and are still in my life. Still? Yes. And just see, 1, why do they put up with me? 2, how we met, and what are they up to? Let's unlock their mind. Let's have a conversation and talk to them. So that's what Season 4 is going to be. And I've already started recording it, and what you'll see is like an intro video from me, and then we'll roll into the interview, probably a commercial in between. You know, just fun stuff. But my first guest this week is the one, the only, Paul. I know what you're thinking. Who the hell's Paul? We call him Cheever. He's been all through our BPP projects. He was a mainstay on the Dace Man show in the final season. And he's a good friend of mine. We met at the fall play, and we'll talk about this in our episode about how we met. But we met a couple decades ago. Well, a decade and a half ago. Through the Defford Township High School drama department, of which what we're playing for the game-a-thon this year. I like it. Cheever chose not to put his camera on, so you guys are going to get a little clip of one of the not used poster edits that was going to be for Cheever on our Dacetacular Gaming for a Cause 11 poster. I hope you enjoy it. And we're going to just talk about all things that he loves, from theater, how we met, how we drifted apart for a bit, how we found each other again, like a romantic The Notebook, but with 2 guys that are not romantically connected as of yet. Or ever. We'll see. The story's not finished. And we just chat. We shoot the shit, and that's what the idea of A Dacetacular Mind Season 4 is supposed to be, when we talk to the Dacetacular people. So, in our first inaugural episode, let's get to know the man named Paul, who we don't call Paul, and rarely anybody does call Paul, and has got stuck with a 1600s character from The Crucible. We're talking with Cheever. I hope you guys enjoy. See you on the other side.
Are you a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies? Want to hear local takes from fellow fans?
Never a doubt, baby. Never a doubt. I knew they were going to be where they're at right now. I knew they're coming in. I'm pretty sure we did talk about how they were taking over the Braves this year.
Well, check out the Jersey Fanatics.
Yeah, if you're sort of fit, go into the center field and just talk to the security guard and see if he can pull you down.
Tyler, Eric, and the Dace Man break down all things Philadelphia Phillies from a South Jersey perspective.
I have a whole theory. I know I told you guys, but I think for every pitch tomorrow, we should just boo him. Every single pitch.
Available wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back, Basement Dwellers, to a special presentation of A Dacetacular Mind as we talk to the Dacetacular people. And on today's episode, I'll be talking about the one, the only, Paul Cheever Ranck. Welcome to the show, Cheever.
What up, guys? It's great to be on. Well, first things first, in true fashion, I have to ask, are we recording?
Yes. So he makes allusion to the fact that he's worked with me on the Dace Man show for 10 years, the shirt that I'm currently wearing, even though you can't see it. And 9 out of 10 times when we started the show, we had no audio. Or sometimes video. But we're here on A Dacetacular Mind, and today we're going to be talking with the one, the man they call Cheever. And I'm going to start with the same question I start with everybody. How did we meet? Do you remember? Because I have a lot of brain damage from the years that I wrestled.
So, it goes as far back as fall 2005. I was a freshman in high school. You were a senior. And we happened to be in the same, we both were in the fall play. And from there, I was an annoying freshman. You came up to me and said, "You fuck up your lines like the last freshman did, we're going to kill you."
There might be a little bit of rewriting history there, but I don't know if I would come out that aggressively on a first meet with somebody.
I don't think it was you specifically. It was definitely one of the other seniors. Like, you guys loved picking on me and making things as awkward as possible. And I forget her name, but it was definitely the one chick. She just went out of her way to be like, I'm going to break this kid.
Well, it's interesting that you're bringing up like how we first met, because that's where you get your nickname. You played a character, Ezekiel Cheever, in the Crucible, and that was, God, I don't want to put numbers to things, but almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you've been Cheever ever since.
Exactly. We actually got close to a point where that almost went away completely.
Really?
I think it was about 2013, 2014. I almost got rid of it altogether.
Is that
But I
when you
think
decided to start talking to us again, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
nobody knew who the hell Paul was?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the funny thing is, I think after the fact that like because we did have like a break period where you were doing your thing, I was doing my thing, weren't really hanging out too much. But then when you came back into the fold, any new people that were introduced to you, you were always introduced as Cheever.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that, being called a character from a 1800s play or 1600s play, right?
Yeah. For me, it doesn't really matter as much. I don't really go with Paul. So I mean, a deep dive. My family always calls me Bob. My dad's name is Paul. Um, my grandfather's name is Paul. So I was always referred to as Bob, unless I was in Connecticut, because then I had an uncle Bob. So then I was Bobby while he was Bob.
That is an interesting story, but also an awful story that you didn't get to use your name, Paul. So are you a third? Or like,
So
are you
no,
Paul,
so my
Paul the third?
grandfather's Paul Roland.
Okay.
No, my grandfather's Paul Roland. My father doesn't have a middle name, and my middle name is Robert.
Okay. Because I have seen you
So
referenced as
therefore,
Paul Bob.
it's not the third. It falls sequentially down. Yeah. So my family calls me Bob, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was back in 5th grade. So this was now like what, 2003?
Okay. That's a
When
freshman.
I was there was that point where you have to transition from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. What the troop did was, for those transitioning, they did like a meet and greet hike. So we hiked around Valley Forge, the campsite from the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
Really cool spot. And my dad was there, and everyone called me Paul at the time. Still, we're doing the hike. He slips up. He calls me Bob. He realizes he fucked up, and he goes, because he went Paul, and then he went Bob, and then that's how that stuck. Because they're like, why did your dad just call you Bob? And I was like, well, it's my middle name. I go by Bob. And they're like, oh, Paul Bob. And then so Paul Bob, that's how that stuck. So that was, so I at a point, when it comes to my name, if we really want to dive into the psychology of it all, in 1st grade, my parents fought for Bob. They're like, he goes by Bob. Kindergarten, he learned Bob. Like, Bob is his name. That's what we want. My 1st grade teacher was like, no, his birth certificate says Paul. He has to go by Paul in the professional world. So I was Paul. So I went my entire early childhood as Bob. Then I had a forced transition to Paul from 1st grade to 5th grade. And then at 5th grade, Paul Bob hit. And then so from 5th grade all the way up till 9th grade was Paul Bob. And then it was from 9th grade to ever Cheever.
You have just been a series of unfortunate events with your name. Whether
Yes,
to just
exactly.
be Paul.
Exactly. So whenever like people talk to me and like, well, what do you like? You can literally say any name and I'm going to probably respond. It doesn't have to be related to me. I will probably still turn my head just out of force of habit.
Hey, you. Look over here, dumbass. That's how you're going to respond?
Yeah, basically.
That's fair. Well, it's like I said, it's an interesting evolution of your name, because again, to the group that we hang out with, and to BPP, and to everything we've promoted since the Dace Man show, since the BPP events and streams and stuff like that. Even your handles for most of your social media is Cheever.
Yeah.
And it's a reference to an obscure. I wouldn't say obscure character, but like it wasn't one of the main characters of the Crucible. Not that anyone would probably reference the Crucible as a movie they go back to and know all the characters' names, but it was the character's last name. It was Ezekiel Cheever, and Cheever just stuck.
Yeah.
So we did meet when it came to the fall play at the Defford Township High School, and acting is something you and I have in common when it comes to like just passions or stuff to chase down. After like you had said, that was my transition out of the high school, your transition into the high school. How did your acting go after that? Because after that point, I went on to do a couple plays at the county college, and then eventually got into a career that kind of took me off the stage. But what was your experience that after that first initial Crucible, where you're playing kind of like a smaller role? Did your roles get bigger? What plays did you do? How did it transition for the rest of your high school career?
So, well, can we backtrack just for a second?
Sure.
So I want to backtrack just a second. So, in 8th grade, in Monongahela, it was the first time that they did a musical.
What was the musical?
It was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Oh, God, everybody got so much. Like, I don't hate the plays that I did, but like, I did the Crucible, Much Ado About Nothing. So I got like 2 archaic Old English fucking plays, but Good Man Charlie Brown sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it at all. I remember being there watching it and going like, I really missed out on doing something fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drove me to do fall play that first year.
So how do you feel about doing a play that's in like Old English? Because again, you started with the Crucible at the high school. And we'll get to it a little bit later, but you're currently in another Shakespeare production. What are your thoughts on the Old English? I can't stand it, because if you get tripped up, you can't improv as well if you're not fluent in Old English. So what was your thoughts on those type of plays?
Honestly, it really forces you to memorize, especially if you have no background.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is what I'm going to do. This is like, I need to sit here and memorize everything.
Yeah. Which is a pain.
And back then, I could sit there and I could watch and learn and master the entire play. I remember one of the musicals we did, like when it came like to like Tech Week, I knew the leads, like every single thing they would do, and they're like, "Are you the understudy?" I was like, "No."
I've just seen it so many damn times.
I've seen it. Like I in my brain, I can mimic whatever someone else does. So
I just remember vividly from doing the Crucible, and then we'll get off that play. But there was a scene where my character, John Proctor, would interact with the food that was prepared for him, and the bowl was forgotten. So there was like an entire page of dialogue around the soup, and not having the bowl of soup, it's like improving was awful. And all of a sudden I went to like a Canadian accent and said "Pretty green fields, eh?" Because there was nothing you could do to, at least being in a high school production, to improv conversation that was centered around soup. You don't have any of the dishes. I missed it. And unfortunately for my acting career, I've done The Good Doctor, which was fun. There was a lot of improv that I could do that, and that was my first experience. But then I did Much Ado About Nothing, The Crucible. I got pulled into a Midsummer Night's Dream in college. And then I had fun on my last one, which was Karaoke Killer, where there was a lot of ability to improv again. But the Old English stuff is rough. So after the Crucible and after yours truly departed for the high school, what was the next one you jumped into?
A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Rough, man. Like I think I played a minor role in it because I wasn't getting into the theater again, and they had asked me to like do one of the male roles. I don't even remember what I played, but who were you in Midsummer Night's Dream?
I was one of the leads. I was Demetrius.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And again,
so that was
the Old English trip you up.
Old English. Honestly, I had a lot of fun with that play.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I mean, Motions did a great job with cutting out a lot of the archaic stuff.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just us running around basically being horny teenagers, which we were at the time. So it's just like it fits perfectly.
That's
It fit
naturally with
perfectly.
theater geeks. It's just
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's great. And then after that, we did a comedy called Don't Drink the Water.
I think I came to that one. I don't know why
Yeah.
that name's sticking out, but I know I didn't see Midsummer Night's Dream, but I do think I made it to Don't Drink the Water.
And that was fun. Like Kyle McMichael had to do like magic tricks. People like I was the bad guy. I love being bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a good mannered tempered person outside of like acting, but when I get like the evil roles, man, I just shine. I just love it.
Well, I don't want to keep going back to the Crucible, but that was one of our first scenes. Is you had to
Yeah.
confront me with like the
I
warrant
spy
or
a
something.
puppet.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
were calling Kirsten a whore pretty much, and
Yep.
then you were coming after me to arrest me or whatever, and I had to scream at you.
Yeah.
And you had to like not laugh at me because I'm not I can be intimidating, but like in Old English, I'm not intimidating because the shit doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
And at the time, I was a lot shorter at the time. I didn't hit
Yeah.
my growth spurt until sophomore year.
And I had already gone through mine, so I towered over you.
So
'Cause I vividly remember like arching over you and yelling at you, kind of backing up, and it was an awkward scene.
Yeah, definitely. And then senior year, we go back to archaic Romeo and Juliet.
Oof. I think I saw that one too.
That was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. No one was off book for that one until like the day of.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a lead. I wasn't Romeo. I was a smaller character.
Okay. Like one of his buddies or whatever.
I want to say yes.
Okay.
I kind of blocked that play out.
That's fair. We all have that one performance. That's me with Midsummer Night's Dream in college. Because again, it was just I was thrown into it real quick, and I think I played a minor role.
Exactly. And then I did do two musicals.
Oh.
Freshman, yeah. So freshman year, I didn't do Damn Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore year, I did Little Shop of Horrors ensemble.
I was so pissed you guys did that. I always wanted to, I
God.
know it's not I always wanted to do the Steve Martin role from the movie, and I was so jealous when you guys did that.
Yeah, and it was fun. Honestly, I had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then senior year, we did Bye Bye Birdie, and again, I was ensemble. And that was kind of my own fault in a sense. I didn't go into the audition prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm a senior. This is the last play. Like, it's my birthright.
This is my rite of passage.
Exactly. I did all 4 fall plays. I did another musical. Like, you want someone? Like, I am your guy. Instead, they went with a freshman and who didn't do the fall play that year. So he didn't go off book till the night of.
It's rough.
So I had to be the guy that goes, you're fucking up, and if you don't get this right, I'm going to fucking kill you.
From the back of the ensemble. I'm just going to hit you with a shoe.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of brings my whole high school acting career to a full circle. I started off with the, hey, you fuck up freshman, we're going to kill you, to, hey, you fuck up my last play because you got something that was supposed to be mine, I'm killing you.
So the one thing I never did was the musicals. I think I made the joke the final performance that we did at Defford High for our class of like, hey, I came to this meeting and went, oh shit, this isn't the musical, which was legit. I remember going to the first fall play meeting, sitting down and going, why aren't they singing? And then I think I auditioned. I don't remember all the musicals that ran through while I was there. But I think again they were more old timey musicals in a way. And I just didn't want to sing that type of stuff, so I ended up transitioning into stage crew. But do you find that you prefer musicals over the just line reading, or?
I honestly prefer more traditional plays than musicals.
Okay.
You can get a lot more emotion out. It's a lot clearer with directions. when you do a musical, it's more along the lines of like I'm doing this action, I'm angry at said person, now I'm in a song, and now I forgive you.
Yeah.
Like it's you have to be really dynamic in your role versus a traditional play. It's like there's an actual dialogue of exchange happening,
And I
and
think you could
you
play
can
more.
build.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say you
exactly.
play more. And at least with a musical, to your point, you have the choreography because there's dance routines. There's
Hmm.
the learn the lyrics on top of the dialogue to get to the lyrics, and then timing. Like at least when you're doing just traditional scripted plays, you kind of control the flow of time. Granted, you're still within some like borders, but the musical is like if you mess up your timing just a little bit, you're throwing the orchestra off, you're throwing the choreography off, you're throwing like everything out of whack. And I think it's much more difficult, and probably why I shied away from it.
Yeah.
And just preferred to do stage crew aspect. Did you do any acting outside of high school? So once you parted ways with Defford High and moved on to your, I believe you did a brief college stint, right?
I tried.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. So the community college I went to didn't really have a theater production.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of backed off of all of that. I had at one point had an interest in doing voice acting work, but that's an extremely hard scene to break into.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually this year is the first year I'm actually acting again for the first time since 2009.
It's a heck of a drop. 2009 might have been when I stopped too. Um, yeah, because in 2010 I took the job that pretty much put me on the road.
Yeah.
So I did Killer Karaoke as my final play. But jumping into it, you are making a return to the stage in November. You're doing
Hmm.
Shakespeare, so nothing like diving in the deep end. How's it going? You're doing the Tempest, right?
Yeah, we're doing the Tempest. I'm playing Sebastian. Overall, it's nice to be back,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not a lead. I'm more on the ensemble side. The play, not necessarily the play within the play. I am the transitionary part
Okay.
of the play to the play in the real cast. Really, we're having fun.
Nice. It's a
And
nice little theater. It's down in Bridgeton. We had you and I had gone down to see the play they did beforehand.
mhm,
So I'm excited to hopefully get down there. I might be traveling that week, but I want to make sure I get down to see you and Cotter did the Tempest.
yeah, and it's a lot of fun. And the role that I'm playing is kind of I don't know how to necessarily describe it.
It's Shakespeare, so it's incredibly difficult to. You're probably gay, with a little bit of like magical powers,
I
and you
am
love
I'm
somebody.
I am the dumbest character. Like I'm playing it as I'm a very dumb character.
Okay.
Basically very much the Cheever like aesthetic that when we go and do like the podcast and whatnot, where I mask up and go, "Hey guys," like goofy. Uh, and, like there's this one scene where it's just like my counterpart. She's trying to like plant the idea in my head I should murder the king, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So
And
it's
she
like
just gets frustrated over the fact that like I'm not grasping what she's laying down.
so it's like a bad session of Dungeons and Dragons.
Basically.
Well, looking forward to it. Again, that's down at the what's it called, the Bridgeton Community Theater.
Yeah, I think.
I
It's
know
in Bridgeton.
it's down in Bridgeton, New Jersey. And what are the dates for that? Because I'm assuming this will air before you guys actually go live or do on your first dates.
Uh it will definitely be in November.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I want to say it's 2 weekends.
okay. Because I think that I want to say your opening weekend is the weekend I'm in Costa Rica for work. I think it's like
Yeah.
November 2nd and 3rd.
Yep.
And then the following weekend, I should be back to catch you, which would be like November 8th and 9th, I think, or maybe 9th
Okay.
and 10th. Because I was interested in trying out, like, again, we just sat here and had a conversation about how Old English and Shakespeare are like my least favorite thing to do. Um, Plus, I travel for work.
Yeah.
So I do want to get back on the stage. I'm jealous and happy for you that you actually got up on the stage. Like, again, the fact that you and Cotter both got back up on stage and are performing is phenomenal, and I'm so happy and excited to see it. But again, super jealous because it's just such a fun environment when you do theater, because it's like-minded people who like to play, and it escapes from this shit reality we live in. So.
Mhm.
I want to switch gears a little bit because there is a big time gap from when you and I were in high school together. We met back up. We'll probably say, we were still touching base on and off after you got out of high school, like here and there at parties and things like that. But eventually we jumped into, I don't want to say another acting thing, because it's more what we're doing right now is just podcasting, video casting, things like that. But we got into a little thing called the Dace Man Show, which again, not the highest success rate, but it was definitely a consistent longevity thing with 10 plus years of just doing videos, content, and stuff. And you were a key part of it. Maybe not so much out the gate, and it morphed over times, but I would say probably about halfway, if not a little bit before halfway through, you jumped in. And I'm going to ask this question to anybody who's worked on a project with me that was not organized by someone else. So basically a BPP project or the Dace Man Show project. Why? Why would you sit and have a conversation with me now? Why did you do the Dace Man Show? Why do you entertain these weird, vain projects that I come up with?
I wouldn't necessarily say they're vain projects.
It was called the Dace Man Show. There's a little bit of vanity there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of vanity in it. Like, you also need like some form of brand image.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I'm a part of all of that, right? It's just like Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all about Mr. Beast, but at the same time, like, there's Carl, like all those other random people that's on his streams, right? They have their own identity. For me, I'm just a fan of just doing projects and putting stuff together. Back in college, the one of the things I did was put together a nonprofit anime convention and help run that. Met some really great voice actors. That's where that whole aspiration came from. And learning how to put things together and organize like large scale events. So for me, it was like a placeholder of doing that, and then it's like, oh well, this is something similar. I can do all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
you definitely got way more involved towards the end of it. I would say the last 2 or 3 years, I think you were a regular.
Yep.
You came in a little bit around, I would say, year 4 or 5, and you were doing like kind of here and there spots. But by the final season, you were a regular panelist, if not like a fill-in host if yours truly was on the road or something like that. So when it comes to that type of like conversations and stuff like that, is there a chance that like that's an avenue you're looking towards, is like a talk show host or conversationalist or something like that? Like, do you enjoy these type of things?
I mean, definitely. A lot of my personal philosophy for life boils down to it's the story that you tell, and the story that to be able to sit down and talk to different people and listen to their story, that interests me.
It definitely, like, to me, that's part of the reason why I wanted to start doing these Dacetacular People episodes. And credit to you, because you eventually just basically said, all right, we're getting together tomorrow morning, we're going to record this, because I've been dragging my feet on this whole process. And I wanted to have, I spent 3 seasons of just talking my mind to myself to the computer screen. And now I want to hear about the people that have ultimately dealt with me for a decade plus, if not more. Find out why they deal with me, and then find out what makes them tick. Because I feel like everybody has an interesting story to tell. And yours, I mean, we started this conversation with the fact that you can't be called Paul. And then went into your transition of love of acting. So when it came to a lot of these projects, doing the conversation pieces, I definitely enjoyed your ability to join a conversation, and 9 out of 10 times after we stopped recording or we went off air, you're like, I didn't know anything about that topic. But you have the ability to carry a conversation, and that's why I'm kind of glad you're one of the first guests on this show, to have that type of, like, to get the feel of what this could potentially be. So I guess where I'm going with this is when you find yourself in conversational pieces, because there are projects we're currently working on, where do you see yourself in the scheme of that? I mean, clearly I've taken a lot of, like, quote unquote host roles, which it can be kind of boring, but do you find yourself the guy that's going to be kind of like driving conversations, or do you like listening and then adding to conversations?
I'm a little of both.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a topic that like I really know and I'm really passionate about, I can definitely speak to it and like have that deeper level conversations. For the conversations that I'm not really like as well versed in, it's more along the lines of, yeah, I have to really listen to what the person's saying,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time my ADHD kind of kicks in and it creates a side conversation of like, this is all the different things you should be asking, and
Mm-hmm.
like this is how you like get more out of the conversation. And it was kind of how I was brought up in a sense. uh
Sure.
so for me, uh my family was really like big into church, like you got to go to church every Sunday, and the church that we went to was definitely old school.
Mm-hmm.
And so your first communion wasn't until 8th grade,
Okay.
and it was 2 years of uh going on Monday nights. Like you got to review like the last sermon, all this. And part of it was you have to sit there and it's like this nice little worksheet. It's like, okay, how does the sermon tie to all of this? And you have to be able to sit there, tie the sermon into something else, basically write your own sermon in a sense. So for me to be able to talk about stuff, like I was conditioned at a young age to always be listening and being able to translate that into a conversation.
Well, if you go back and listen to a lot of the Dace Man show stuff, and I don't encourage anyone to do that, because they were definitely moments in time that you had to be there type shows. You had, I would say, probably 50% of the conversations you were involved, like actively involved in. Either you just had such an uncanny way to carry a conversation without actually, I don't want to say caring, because you do care about that. You could tell that there's a way and a finesse that you do with anything you work on, that there's a bit of care to it, but you had the ability to get into it, run with it, and you would never tell that like that was something that A, didn't interest you, or B, you had no idea about. Whereas past conversations we've had on the show with certain people, that once they're disconnected from it, you're not going to get their buy-in, and it's no fault to them. It's just that's just their personality of like, hey, I don't care about what you're talking about, so either I'm going to talk about my thing, or I'm just going to like hurry up and finish this off. You, and I admire this about you, and this is probably why we have better conversations both in private and on air, is you have that ability to keep that conversation going and keep that conversation interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, we did Potter Nerds together. We've done the Dace Man show together. You filled in on some sports podcasts that I don't even know if you fully pay attention to sports.
Nope.
Exactly. So, like, you have this uncanny ability, and it'd be interesting to keep seeing you carry that to the next level. So, you're back on the stage with the Tempest.
Mhm.
Are there any other like avenues you're talking about? Because there's definitely one aspect of your life that I want to talk about, and is the fact that you were just a wandering spirit. Anything you're into currently that project wise?
Project wise, I mean, and like you hinted at, right? I'm a wild spirit, always wandering the earth. So I am looking at continuing my acting career.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we not to kind of like drag this up, but like I understand the whole purpose of a Dacetacular People episode.
Mhm.
So give me like an extra 5 minutes here. Uh, so one of the reasons why when like all my acting stopped, I remember I was talking to my one aunt about it, and she's just like, well, just do your time now, like work, get yourself that, then eventually you'll be able to have the time to go back into acting and
Mhm.
all of that other stuff. So like I'm at that point in my life where it's just like, oh yeah, I do have weekends off. I do have weekdays off, weekday nights off. And now it's like all that. So like that plays in the back of my mind a little bit, and I kind of chuckle.
Hmm.
So I am, yeah. So I am looking to continue acting a little bit. Um, I am also currently on some projects for my career.
There you go.
Um, yeah. So again, the whole like being able to care and carry a conversation. I do put a lot of effort into all of that in my career path. Recently had a conversation with one of our CFOs. She mentioned that like I am almost ready for that next level. My current boss is like, I can see you becoming high up on the chain of command no matter where you go. So I am kind of following that myself.
Hmm.
And then those are like the two big projects right now. And
Well, that's the
kind of,
beauty
you
of it.
know,
You're finding that work-life balance, right?
yeah.
And from past experience, both you and I'm currently still trying to find that particular balance. Like now, it's like a trifecta that I'm trying to balance. But there were times that work definitely outweighed the life portion of it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. Like I said, when it came to you and Connor getting back on stage, I find that phenomenal, because to find that work-life balance, and even, I don't know if you want to go into it or not, but being a parent as well, you now have
Mhm.
work, life, family. So now you're trying to make that perfect triage of that, and it's tough. And you and her both balance that, as well as obviously I haven't gotten to that level yet, of trying to get some hobbies back into there, but it's impressive, and I don't think you should lose sight of that. The fact that you're still career driven, still moving up that corporate ladder, while also you can see Cheever at Bridgeton Community Plays doing Tempest in November, which is that's just impressive, dude. And I think you should know that that's kind of impressive.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So in our long illustrious career, our friendship, we've been friends for I guess we're gonna put a number to it, almost 15 years, we'll say.
Sure.
Ish. Mine 2000. God, almost closer to 20. Um, you've always been there. You've always walked through these like projects. I said what we that was the question that kind of led into this part of the conversation of like, hey, why do you work on these things with me? One thing we do have coming up, and you've kind of taken an important position on it, is the Gameathon.
Mhm.
So for those that are not familiar with it, this is your first time listening to Dacetacular Mind. The Gameathon was an annual event we did for 10 years straight, raising money for various charities. We did St. Jude's, the Messages Project, Project Refit, things like that. This year, you and I, with the help of the rest of the PPP team, we're playing for that Deaf for Performing Arts, which is kind of like why you and I are doing what we're doing right now. And if you listen to the beginning of this conversation, you can see why we're working towards that. What are your hopes with that? Because right now it's just an event we do in the basement, raise a little bit of money, and then all right, see you next year. Do you foresee big things with that? Are you happy that you're like part of what we call the committee or things like that?
The committee. Yes. Uh, I'm always happy to be a part of it. And when it comes to my bigger vision, there is definitely something there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I used to run a nonprofit anime convention. It was a Saturday, Sunday, fully booked event. Uh, and it was a good time. It was a real good time. And when you originally first brought up the whole, Dacetacular gaming for a cause, and your overall goal a couple years ago being like you want to make this more of a convention style, I was like, "Yep, this is me. I can definitely get us to that point."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which I
because
think
it's something.
ideally it would be awesome if this was more interactive. Because right now it's kind of just the stage, in a way.
Yeah.
But to your point, when it comes to running a convention, what's that like? Because you said that you ran that anime convention. How many years did that run? Just one or
I did it for like 3 years.
okay?
Um, and then it kept going on after I left. I
Mhm.
eventually passed the mantle down, and I just, I completely stepped away from all of that, uh, because it was time for me to let go.
Sure.
And
And I'm sure it's a lot. Like the planning, we're just trying to plan this year's event, and we've met monthly, and now we're trying to coordinate the larger group, which, and we're not even doing vendors or anything like that this year. This
yeah,
is just the main, what would quote unquote be the main stage of a convention.
yeah. I mean, honestly, if right now it feels harder than it needs to be,
Mm-hmm.
because we're still like organized in a private space.
Yeah, we
So,
have a lot of control over things right now, which.
and I think that's one of the biggest things that hinders us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like when it comes to organizing the vendors, artist alley, managed. In reality, you just need one person to just review the applications.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just need to understand, like, you need your space first. Then you need to figure out how much that space costs for your vendors and artists, and then go, well, in order for us to break even, we can have all these tables here, charge $5 per table or whatever it is, and that pays for the room itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's just like, then you just gotta, you can easily get like voice actors and actors to come out to stuff. It's just the monetary cost that we want to put out for the first event.
Mm-hmm. Which is
After that, it comes back.
which is kind of weird because you think about it. This will be our 11th gameathon, but
Yeah,
realistically, we're in our infancy states again because we want this to be bigger. So like, hey, yeah, we
yeah,
can do the thing where we hit the go live button and just run for 48 hours, but can we take it to the next level? And I think that's where we're at. And I'm glad that we have a guy who has experience with a convention style. We have what we call the realist, which is Gibby. Gibby will tell you no on everything or come back with the negative. So I thought it was a perfect balance for the committee to have
yeah.
you, who will take the optimistic, motivated path of like, this is what we could do, this is what we should shoot for, and then Gibby to be like, no, you're all dumbasses, shut it down. So that's like a perfect balance because it keeps my pie in the sky dreams kind of grounded, but doesn't crush them completely with one or the
Give me.
other.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed our conversation here, and I do like the way that this podcast is feeling. In the sense, I'm glad that you were one of the first conversations I've had because it kind of gives me a feel. It's more comfortable. Like I said, when you have this uncanny ability to carry conversations, even if like they're meh. What I want to do this with everybody. What do you want to talk about, man? Like we're in the final stretch of this episode, and we've talked about your acting career, we've talked about your name, we've talked about your ability to like work with the conventions and stuff like that, and how you're driven on the corporate ladder. What else is there for the world to know about the Chief?
So that's a fun question that my therapist is slowly starting to learn I don't like answering.
That's fair. So
She
why
goes,
not?
"What do you want to talk about today?" It's like I want to talk about everything. I can't pick one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of hinted at it earlier. Like, I'm a wanderer of the earth, and I do so many different things, and I talk to so many different people.
And you have like there have been conversations like, oh, I got a guy for that, and it's like, what? As a guy who has pretty much like his set 10 to 15 people, who occasionally meets new people here and there, but doesn't really like, okay, I've got my 10, 15, I'm fine. Let's keep it at that. You have like hundreds. And there was one conversation that sticks out. You specifically, we were talking about something like, oh, I got a sandwich guy in Collinswood. If you want like this type of sandwich, just go to Collinswood, go here, just say you know me. And it's like, what?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
What drives you to just like keep that? I'm old and a curmudgeon now, so like I still have some people skills enough to get me through small bursts of interaction. You just have this like drive that you'll talk to anyone anywhere, and now you've got a lifelong friend.
it's definitely getting harder now that I'm approaching my mid-30s. Uh, for me, it's just I don't know, man. My 20s was wild.
It sounds it.
Like, one of the things that, like, I distinctly remember, and it was, like, towards the end of, like, my heydays, I remember we did this bar crawl in Old City because my one friend wanted to do it for her birthday. And every bar we went to that night on Facebook, like, I would tag, like, I'm at this bar, and I would, like, make it like some weird obscure comment. And, like, those were all different memories of, like, me being absolutely fucking wild.
You have like I don't know if it's like a stated philosophy or like a stated rule you live by, but you, out of all the people I know, say yes to everything. Like it's like that Jim Carrey movie where you have to say yes to it, but you are on board to do whatever, whenever, let's go. And I think that's why you have way more life experiences than I have. Which is weird to say. Like I've had a lot of life experiences, but they were career driven. In my 20s, basically the job took me to places, and at those places I did things because I happened to be there. Would that have happened if I didn't have that job? Probably not. But I don't know if I would ever been to the extent of you, where somebody messages you who you may not have talked to in a few months and goes, "Hey, you want to go do this?" And you just like, "Yeah, sure." Me, I'll think of like 10 excuses not to put socks on.
You want to hear a funny story?
Sure. That's why we're here.
So, so I'm glad you're recording, because this is going to be great. I'd love to see your face for this. So this had to have been anywhere between 2012 to 2013. I was currently working at McDonald's at the time, and I was wrapping up my shift. It was like 10 o'clock at night. This crowd of people comes in, like, it was a group of 8, right, early 20s.
Okay.
And they ordered some food and whatnot. Like, I'm wrapping up, and this one girl comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, like, you're kind of cute." I go, "Okay, yeah, cool." She's like, "Well, we're having a party. Do you want to, like, join our party?" I was like, "Okay, well, I have to finish up these tasks." And then, like, yeah, I'll meet up with you guys. And so, right, I'm like rushing. I put all the cups away. Like, I'm like running around, like, "Bye, guys, I'm leaving. Bye, deuces." Run out the door. I go to the address, and I go to this house, and it's literally just the same 3 people from McDonald's. We're just in a basement. It wasn't awkward. Like, it wasn't awkward silence, but I was definitely flirting with this girl. It was a good time. The guy apparently had a crush on me too. And then from there, like, yeah. And I just, like, I left. I never talked to her again. The guy kept messaging me on Facebook, winky faces, like, "I want to see nudes." I'm like, "No, get the fuck out."
So here's where you and I differ. I would have said no out the gate. Like, I'd be like, "Nah, I got XYZ to do at home." It would have been some stupid, boring excuse. And the fact that you even entertained it at first and then actually did it, I admire, but at the same time know that I don't think I could be that guy. I'm impressed. It's something weird that's wired in my brain. Through my 20s, I followed that corporate job. So 2010, I took that SAP traveling job, and I'm still doing it today. But from like age 22 to 30, I was constantly on the road, and never had I had like the quote unquote college experience, or like these, "Oh, you want to go to a party night?" Sure. Chances are I was in a hotel playing PlayStation because I had work the next day. I can't, again, I admire this about you. I can't ever picture myself doing that. And you still do that today. I know you say you're slowing down because you're now mid-30s or whatever. You still do it today. Like, somebody in our, granted, it's with people we know and are very close with, but if somebody says, "Let's do this" in a chat, you're there.
Yeah.
And that is a hell of a trait, sir. Just don't get murdered, because, like, that's also how you just get murdered.
Well, you want to hear another funny story about my time working at McDonald's?
Did you witness a murder? Is that where this is going?
No, that's the time I was at a bar.
Okay.
And I'm not making that up. We can go into that next.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
another fun story. Working at McDonald's, right? Like, a group of people come in, blah blah blah. I get her number. I start texting her. Get introduced to her friend group. She only gave me her number out of a dare, and it was so she could also then parlay that relationship for this other guy. So I ended up talking to this guy for a little bit. And then we eventually, on Sundays, it would be me, him, his friend. We would go out do karaoke's on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then the girls. Now the funny part about all of this and how my life works is that the girl that gave me her number,
Mm-hmm.
she ended up in one of my upper level history classes.
Okay.
So I actually ended up reconnecting with her. We became good friends. We were friends on Facebook for a while. And then one day out of the blue, I think back in 2020, she messaged me and she's just like, hey, let's catch up. We caught up. And now, like, earlier this month, we matched on Tinder. So now we're talking on Tinder. Like, this is how my life operates. It's like, I don't plan for some of these things. But life, to quote Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
You seem to circle back with people a lot, like unintentionally. Like there's people that I've lost connection with and I still haven't heard back from, just due to whatever reason. No life, nothing malicious, no reasons that here or there. You have like, and this person in the story you just told, it was 2 or 3 times you circled back with this person after like radio silence.
Yeah.
What you live?
I swear to God, sometimes I think I'm a magician and I don't know how to control my powers.
You're a Lifetime movie. And luckily it's not a horror movie at this point. It's just kind of like I'd watch this series, The Adventures of Cheever.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
So about the story about witnessing a murder.
Go on. Don't tell me the dead person circles back around and now you matched on Tinder.
No. That would be too weird. So this had to been 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It was before Logan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before Logan. So my friend and I, we were looking for bars to drink at. We were bebopping around Philly one night, and it caught my eye. I saw an N64 playing in the background when we were walking walking around Philly. I was like, we need to check that out. Ended up the bar just opened. It was like its first couple weeks.
Okay.
And the guy behind the bar was the owner. So he was doing all this work, right? He was being the bartender, cook, all this other stuff. So we were regulars. And so he saw us, we obviously, I'm a very big tipper, so I tip really generously. So after a while, they realized, I'm still going to give them money.
Mm-hmm.
And I give them money no matter what they give me for what they charge me for drinks. So it got to the point where they wouldn't charge us for drinks. I would throw them the bartender cash. And it got to the point where the owner, he got a chance to, work on his stuff. He actually was a full-time lawyer. The bar was just his hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a criminal defense lawyer. And he just goes, he's working at the bar. He's on his laptop working on his bar. And he just turns to us. He goes, Jesus fucking Christ. We go, what's up? He goes, how am I supposed to defend this person? He turns his laptop to us. And all you see is a guy running down the alley, someone chasing him, and then 2 bright flashes from the security camera. And then the guy running out. And he's like, how do I prove that this guy didn't shoot someone?
So that's when you start using the Men in Black defense and say that there was these alien lights from the sky that flashed.
Exactly. Solar flare. It was a solar flare interfering with the cameras.
Did you live in the city for a bit, or you frequented the city a lot?
I just frequented the city a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of our thing. We didn't like going to the traditional bars in our area, right? We didn't like going to Shalene's. We didn't like going to Adelphia's. We didn't like going to Skeeters because it was like all the same people we grew up with, and like we don't want to see those people. We want to meet new people.
It's fair. You've tapped that pool. Let's get out of that
Yeah.
pool. And that's where you and I differ. I'd rather go to a bar with just the same 3 people I know. You want to go meet 3 new people each time.
Exactly. I just want to be loved, and I want to find my partner. Eventually, I'll find someone. This magic has to work on someone eventually.
It should. It absolutely, like, if you are a wandering spirit, this is going to turn into a dating video. If you are a wandering spirit that likes adventure and never know what you're doing from day to day, Cheever is your guy. And you won't be murdered. So that's a plus.
Exactly.
I could vouch for him until I have to scrub all my tweets and all my podcasts. He hasn't murdered anyone yet.
Well, I mean, I already scrubbed my Twitter, so you're good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, maybe I need to scrub mine then, Diddy. So I don't know where our future goes, but I do know that in our near future, you and I are working very closely on several projects. We have a new show we're trying to produce for BPP, which would be a weekly talk show called The Weekly Protocol. You and I are intimately involved in that with producing, writing, and scheduling. We have the Game-a-thon in 2025. You're returning to the stage. Hopefully one day you and I will both share a stage again. What's the future hold for Paul Cheever Ranck?
Not to die.
That is a good goal. And probably,
That's a good goal.
Yeah. Any other goals besides, living day to day?
No.
God, that
Not
fits
really.
perfectly for you. Just take it day by day, see what happens. Life's great.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and being one of the first guests here on Dacetacular People, part of the Dacetacular Mind podcast. Do you want to go ahead and plug? While you were talking, I grabbed up the Tempest information. So, do you want me to plug that?
Yeah, definitely. Always plug.
Yeah. So, Cheever will be performing November 8th to the 16th in Bridgeton, New Jersey with For the Whim Productions. They will be doing their version of The Tempest, which will be a modern corporate business world with a twist of playful, meddling magic. Trapped by a bad storm, the owners of the rival business, Sycorax and Milan, are forced to talk out the differences. Perhaps a new romance could spring up and merge these 2 companies. Perhaps that was the plan all along. Box office and lounge open 1 hour before showtime, 7 p.m. for evening events, 1 p.m. for matinees. Doors will open 30 minutes before showtime, 7:30 p.m. for evening performances, 1:30 p.m. for matinees. And again, you can find this out on For the Whim Productions. They have a Facebook as well as a website themselves. $20 in advance, $25 at the door. It's at the Hopefloft in Bridgeton, New Jersey. So go out and see it. Cheever will be in The Tempest, as well as Cotter if she happens to come on the show at some point. Yeah, so that was a hoot. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Cheever. The inaugural episode, really feeling things out, and I don't think there was a better person to talk to in the first episode than Cheever himself. I don't remember if I did this in the episode, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm going to check back in after our conversations just to do this because I want to plug some stuff. Because we do pre-record and the plugs may have changed from when we recorded to when we actually dropped the episode. So everything he plugged with The Tempest is accurate. That will be running November 8th to the 16th at For the Whim Productions, which you can find at the Hopefloft in Bridgeton. Get your tickets today at forthewhimproductions.com, I believe is the website. If not, you can find them on Facebook, For the Whim Productions, and you'll see The Tempest and all the dates and times that they're playing in. So he's in it, as well as Ashley Cotter. Go see it at the Hopefloft, Bridgeton, November 8th to the 16th. Now for the Basement Protocol plugs. A Dacetacular Mind is back, and we're going to be dropping episodes every Friday. Next week on the episode, I'll be talking to Carissa LaCava and her Cava Vitality company that she's launching. You can catch the Weekly Protocol every Thursday, where a BPP team will join me as on panel. It's kind of like a variety show where I host 2 other individuals, and we talk the protocols for various topics. Episode 1 is airports. That's up now, and dropped yesterday was Halloween, so go check that out. Next week, we'll be talking football. And by we, I mean hopefully somebody else will see. But the Weekly Protocol drops every Thursday morning, full episodes, and then the segments drop later that day. You can catch the Jersey Fanatics every Wednesday. This week's episode, we kind of dropped and talked about Juan Soto and where he might land, as well as the stay or go poll that PhillyVoice.com did and how we feel about those results and Philadelphia's betrayal of Nick Castellanos. Leave him alone. He was the most productive in the postseason. Next week, the Fanatics will talk Zach Wheeler and do a Fanatics focus, and we'll be back every week dropping on Wednesdays. Is your Jersey Fanatics, and then the streaming will pick back up. So yours truly has to get past the Costa Rica trip, but once he does that, he plans to get back to streaming. There's a lot of new games coming out, a lot of new games I have up there that I want to get to, so we'll see how that goes. You can check Cheever212 on Twitch, Game of Travis on Facebook and Twitch, as well as Jariat Games, Tim in the North, and the Dace Man 14 as some of the active accounts on Twitch and Facebook. That's a lot. We started getting rocking and rolling, but the big one is April 25th to the 27th, 2025, the Dacetacular Gaming for a Cause 11, which will be playing for the Defford Township High School Drama Program. All proceeds will go to that arts program so they can help put on better things for their plays, help revamp the theater itself, and just hopefully get people back engaged. Without the theater program, yours truly, Cheever, and many others that you see in BPP would not be doing the things we do today as hobbies or even just like pursuing in other roads. It really kick-started our confidence levels and got us out there to want to perform. So, Dacetacular Gaming for a Cause, mark your calendars, April 25th to the 27th. New format, running convention style, and by that I mean we're running hours from 10 to 8, or 10 to 2 Friday, 10 to 2 Saturday, and then 10 to 8 on Sunday. Not the 48 consecutive hours we used to do. We're segmenting it. Schedule's up on the site, basementprotocolproductions.com. That's going to do it for us this week on A Dacetacular Mind, talking to the Dacetacular people. I've been Chris the Dace Man Dace, and since I don't get to say it much since we ended the Dace Man show, for the few, for the proud, and for the Dacetacular, thank you guys for checking in. Thank you for unlocking my mind, and thank you to those that let me unlock theirs. We'll see you next week with Carissa LaCava and Cava Vitality on A Dacetacular Mind.